Hola.
Boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon. So remote software development, there's a lot of companies doing that. You're not the newest. You're one of the bigger ones. What is your value add? What sets you apart from all the other companies, some of who've been on the same stage?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to be in this conference, probably one of the biggest tech conferences in the world. Now,
I believe so.
And with an amazing crowd we have here. So let me get straight to your question. So the first thing we need to understand are some data points, and then I'm going to guide you through everything we did to achieve what we achieved. So first of all, BairesDev is receiving in the last 12 months approximately 2.2 million applicants. Think about this for just 1 second. Take every work day. You get in your inbox 10,000 applications. Those are 10,000 people that want to work for your company. So that's an incredible number that we're very happy with. But let me tell you a little bit about how we're doing it. So the first things first, think about Latin America. One of the greatest things I believe we've done, and probably key to our success, is really putting quality jobs in front of really talented engineers. If you think back many years ago, what were the odds that a great engineer in Latin America would be working for a company like Pinterest, eBay, Johnson & Johnson, or even the American Red Cross, right? It was virtually impossible. So I think one important thing that we did through BairesDev was putting every talented engineer in front of the possibility of working in really cool projects with really great clients. But then there was one other thing that I believe made a huge difference, and I really think it was a clear advantage that not a lot of other companies really thought about, at least at the time, which has to do with we don't care where you are. And this is really important. Latin America has a huge advantage over many other regions around the world when it comes to great talent, great time zone. You can serve clients in the United States, in Canada, and even in Western Europe. But what we really did differently was really not caring about where you are. If you're really talented, that's all it takes. And I believe that that's part, when people ask me, why did BairesDev become, one of the, actually the only bootstrapped unicorn in the tech industry in Latin America, it has really a lot to do with really trying to find the best talent despite of their location, despite of who they are. So I think that was really one of the main reasons why we did what we did.
I've seen two key phrases that come up a lot. One is emigration, and the other, the one y'all like to use, is nearshoring. Can you give a concise definition of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we came up with this word, emigration. I live in the United States. I've been living there for about 10 years. I had to learn English, along the way. And I really migrated in search of better opportunities. And unfortunately, when you migrate, you are leaving your loved ones, your family, your close friends. And it's a challenging thing that unfortunately a lot of people had to do and still have to do to get better opportunities. This is true for a lot of people. I didn't grow up rich,
One set of grandparents.
Exactly.
3 sets of great-grandparents.
Think about our grandparents, they all migrated. And now technology, and specifically Latin America, I think they're really well positioned to have really talented people having a high quality job without really having to leave their communities. We have cases of people who live in really remote areas. Actually 30% of our engineers are in what you would call almost rural areas. And that is phenomenal because they can contribute to their communities. They have a great quality job and they don't need to leave their families or their friends. They can still do what they do. I think that tendency will continue to grow as time goes by. Communications have made it easier than ever before. And the time zone in Latin America is just such a big advantage.
It still confuses me. I was 11 hours on planes to get here, only one time zone to the right. I'm not used to that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the volume of applications. I know I've just Googled BairesDev and I see so many applications you have up. People will sometimes say, this many job offerings, they can't be for real. What's going on? How do you make sense of all that so that you're actually finding people who are good in these roles in a way that's fair, that doesn't reproduce human biases in one way or another?
So Rob, imagine yourself in front of your computer, and there's literally almost 10,000 applications in front of you every single day. Now, when that happens, just think about that. Take 2 seconds and think about that. Don't listen to me. Take about 2 seconds and think about that. What do you do, right? And what do you also do to remove...
I set the computer on fire, actually.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? What do you really do? It's very hard, right? So the first thing is, well, you need to have something standardized, because otherwise, there's human biases. You don't want to leave anyone behind as long as they're really, really good. So what you do is we really build a lot of very standardized processes and evaluations, and we have the ability, we were lucky to get really so many applications over the course of so many years that you can even predict, based on the results, how good the performance of someone will be in 5 years from now. That is really, really something that has 2 positive effects. One of them is, well, you actually get to process every single one of those 10,000 applications that you received today, so your inbox gets to 0. But also, you remove any bias from the selection process. And I'll give you a few examples, but we really don't care where you are. We don't care if you're black, white, or brown. We really don't care. We don't care about your religion, if you're a female, male. We really don't care anything but that you're a great potential engineer for our company, and you're going to do a great job for our clients. So that is obviously very, very important when it comes to processing that. But also, we really don't care about your pedigree, let's say. And I think many companies forget about that, especially in the United States. If you went to Stanford or Harvard, it really matters more than almost anything else. That's why people really care so much about that. But, this is a funny story. It's a real story of one of our engineers, not many years before joining us, was actually selling something called arepas, which is similar to flatbread, let's say, right? In the streets. I'm talking about a guy selling food in the streets, right? So this person applied, like everyone else. The system said, oh, okay, here's the evaluation, here are all the tests and all the things. This person was absolutely brilliant and he basically received a used computer that he started using and learned how to code, then applied to work for us, and he's today even a great engineer at our company. Those are the kind of things that really create a huge advantage when it comes to your competitors. Processing millions of applications is fantastic, but you need to make sure that it's standardized and fair for everyone applying, despite of their background. You really have to forget about that, and I believe the world is going in that direction.
Another phrase that came up when I was researching your company, soft skills, you emphasized that. So I take it being able to sell things in the street is one of those. How do those play into it? Because traditionally, CS, EE degrees are not about soft skills, but you are not a degree-oriented shop, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and especially I think potentially if we chat about, artificial intelligence, a lot of that will come up. But think about this for a second. Technology is evolving. Things are getting, for software engineers, when it comes to coding, a lot easier. Technology has helped. AI is helping dramatically, right? So all of a sudden, it really matters how you solve problems, right? So we at BairesDev have basically 5 pillars. That simply put, one of them is critical thinking. Are you really smart enough to decompose really complex problems into small ones and try to find a really good solution? That's super relevant for the world we live in today. Coding, I am a firm believer that in 10 years from now, will not be necessarily that complicated, but still solving a problem effectively will continue to be a skill you must have. So if any one of you is thinking about joining the tech world, that's super important. Then, when you think about emotional intelligence, or EQ, as also known, that's something we also measure as well. And the reason we measure that is that it's important. You're dealing with people. We are people here. And no matter what you're doing for any job, pretty much, I would argue that if you really can't deal with the rest of the people in a way that they feel comfortable, that they like it, self-awareness, context awareness, I believe those things are specifically very important and will only make you better and better. Then there are some other things like, for example, creativity. Creativity and innovation go together, but you're not, probably, if you're in tech, you're probably not going to need to know that much about the tools themselves in many years from now. You're still going to have to come up with really creative solutions for your clients and your customers. And then there's obviously things like adaptability. Think about that for a second. How fast do you think the world is going? It's insane how fast it goes. Think about the last 4 or 5 years. There's not been one normal year, and I don't think there will be that many. So if you can adapt really fast, you have a huge competitive advantage. If you can't, you're going to be in trouble because the world will keep changing, like it or not. And then finally, communication. Obviously all of our clients speak English and all of our people speak English internally, but it goes even beyond just having a great English level. It goes into things like being really able to effectively communicate one thought. Because reality is that the complexity of coding and it's going to gradually go away, but still communicating with others will continue to be one of the main challenges for many companies. So it's very important that you do that. And the way we test all those things is basically through a similar system of standardized things in which we contrast with your performance, and we can predict through machine learning and AI. I don't want to get too technical, but basically we can predict how someone will perform based on those qualities.
So you had to say AI. We got to get into that. How has that changed? Because you've been around long enough, the whole concept of AI has changed from really good software to this potentially scary thing. So what's the upside you see? What's the thing you're most worried about with AI?
So, I am actually very bullish about AI in general and how it can help tech companies. For us, has been phenomenal. We've been able to really provide much better results, much faster to our clients. It's been phenomenal. And I think for the most part, used in the right way, and we'll chat about maybe the not so good way, it's something phenomenal. It should help not only tech companies, it should help healthcare. It should help, spreading income more evenly. It should definitely have a great impact. AI is not by itself evil. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. You just have to use it in the right way. And
so it's not going to destroy all of our jobs?
Exactly. You don't want a Terminator situation, right?
We're all good.
Now, when you think about it, Rob, for a second, I think what scares me, overall, I'm really bullish. I think the stock market is going to do well, and I think everything's going to get better. But unfortunately, that takes a lot of action from government. AI is a phenomenal asset that humanity has. It's a phenomenal asset, but it has to be used in the right way. AI can also be weaponized. You don't want that. But for that not to happen and for AI to be used in the right way, you really need government involvement. The United Nations and governments need to get together, define certain rules and certain regulations. And at the end of the day, if we do that, as humanity, I believe we're going to highly benefit from what AI is bringing. I think everyone's lives, all of our lives today, are going to be substantially better in a decade or two. So as long as governments really, really take care of regulations.
Governments do matter. Please vote. Let's talk about a couple other things. I'm still struck by the fact you've reached unicorn status, $1 billion, and no outside funding. How has that changed your decision-making process where you don't have a partner or a lead funder saying, that's great, but what are you doing for me in the next quarter?
So it's interesting because, we did what we did without thinking about it. When you're bootstrapped, that means you never raised any money from any investors. You just do what you do every single day. You never think, oh, we're going to be a unicorn. You never think about that. But that has not really happened in Latin America ever for any company. And the reason why I think that happened was in part because we had no choice. Latin America has, at least at the time, didn't have a lot of access to capital. However, in retrospective and now seeing what we can do today, I'm actually happy we did it that way. It would have been a lot easier, trust me. It would have been a lot easier if we had raised money at the time. But today, what that gives you is the freedom to do whatever's best for your clients and your employees exclusively. When you are not bootstrapped, when you have investors, there's always some pressure to have sometimes short-term results that may not necessarily be the best for your clients or your employees. So there's a huge sense of freedom and huge sense of doing whatever's right for the people we serve, which are really our clients and our employees. I think it's a mentality that is very different from other companies, and I'm glad we did it that way, though it was probably a lot more painful than you can possibly imagine.
Okay, last question I have for you. Any advice to people in the audience considering remote coding work for your firm, or anyone else in this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm an example of someone, I grew up in a middle-class family. I didn't learn any English growing up, and I went to public schools all the time. And so really, one important thing that I would tell you is, first of all, make sure you speak English. Obviously, every one of you here speaks English, I'm assuming, because you're listening to this, but it's extremely important. You need to learn that. But more important than that, focus not just on the technical side of things, but on your soft skills. You need to be fully prepared to be a person that can deal with change. We talked about that before. It's extremely important that you also can solve complicated problems. Take a look at those things. Make sure you become really, really good, because technology itself will evolve. What you're seeing today will be different from what you're going to see in 10 years from now. However, the concept of solving those problems by using technology, that will not change. And if you're a person who can solve those problems effectively and make your customers and the people around you great, you're still going to thrive in that environment. So focus on that more than anything else.
Sounds like great advice. One thing I would add as a journalist, don't forget to spell check your application and your cover letter. All right. Thank you, Nacho.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
you.
Everyone. Obrigado.
Thank you.